Hola, ¿cómo están? Hoy vamos a hablar de las conjugaciones, de la gramática en español. Today we have a very special and important lesson. We are going to learn how to conjugate. Conjugation, remember that word, okay? Conjugation, what does it mean? Well, conjugation means changing of the verb. Has something to do with an action word, okay? Well, we'll get to it. We're going to talk about the verb tener, which is to have. Before we get to it, let's listen to these crazy creatures.
Hey, Pablo, guess what I have in the box?
Gee, I don't know, Billy. Another box?
That is so random, Pablo. The answer is nothing. There is nothing in the box, but I need to make a time capsule, and I need things to put in it. So, let's see. ¿Qué tienes?
I don't have a lot of stuff with me. Okay. Tengo un refresco.
That's it? That's all you have? Okay, I'll take it. Hey, Toña, over here. I need to put something in this box for a time capsule. ¿Qué tiene? Whoa, what? We don't have anything. Oh, okay. Tenemos patinetas. But you can't have them. But I need stuff to put in the box. Hey, that's not fair. Give it back. Oh, stop whining. Okay, let's see. Now, ¿qué tengo?
Well, let's see. So far, tienes una patineta y un refresco. Not really much of a time capsule. In the future, they're going to think we were really weird.
A civilization that lived on soft drinks and traveled by skateboard alone? Sounds like paradise to me.
Gracias por eso. Thank you for that. Okay. ¿Qué tienes? What do you have? Tengo un refresco. I have a refreshment, a soda. ¿Qué tiene? What do you all have? Tienen patinetas. They have skateboards. ¿Qué tengo? What do I have? The verb tener. That's what we're going to talk about first today. The verb tener. Okay? Tener means to have. Okay? Very important verb. Okay? You use this verb when you're expressing, obviously, possession. Okay? Or things that you have. In order to say I have, you say yo tengo. You have says tú tienes. Usted tiene is you using the form of formal of you will be usted. Tiene. Él tiene means he has. Ella tiene. She has. Nosotros tenemos. We have. Vosotros tenéis using the informal of vosotros form of you all. Tenéis, you all have. Ustedes tienen, all of you have. Ellos tienen, they have, bunch of males. And ellas tienen, a female form for plural. Ellas, a group of girls, they have. So this is the conjugation. A conjugation means how the verb takes different forms based on the subject, based on who's doing the action. The verb is tener. The infinitive form, its original form is like this. Tener. It ends with er. This one, this is a specific verb. Now, in English, all infinitives start like this. To have, to eat, to shower, to run. That is its original form. And from there, you change them depending on who's doing the action, right? Depending on the subject. Here, the subject is yo, which is I. I am the subject. Here, the subject is tú. You are the subject. Usted, you, using the form of usted, the formal way, is the subject. Él, he is the subject. Ella, she is the subject. Nosotros, we are the subject. Vosotros, you all are the subject. O vosotras if you're referring to females. Ustedes is you all of you. is the subject, people, the person or people that is doing the action. Ellos, they, a group of males, are doing the action, are the subject, and ellas, a group of females. So the subject of pronouns, personal pronouns, that's what they call. So based on the personal pronouns, based on the subject, you change the verb. Notice that this one right here, this form of the verb tener, is different than this form. Yeah, it is different because it will only go, this one, tiene, will only go with usted, only with él and ella. And tengo will only go with yo. That's it. You cannot mix match. Nor can you leave the verb in its infinitive form. You cannot leave it like this. Okay? If you want to say I have, you cannot just say I tener. That would be really bad. So you don't say that. You don't do it. You change it. You conjugate it. Okay? That is what a conjugation means. Yo tengo. Okay? You change the ER and change it like here. Now, tengo, tener, is a irregular verb. It's a verb that you have to remember because it has differences. It doesn't follow a pattern of a regular verb. Tienes, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, and tienen. That is the conjugation of the verb. So if we want to say we have class on Monday, you say we have. We don't have to put we don't have to put nosotros again, because guess what? You can tell in the verb who's doing the action. The verb has two parts. Has the stem, the beginning, and has the end. Here, the verb will always remain with the stem, with the beginning, and it will get rid of the ending, which is here, er, and put the ending that belongs to the subject, the pronoun. In this case is hemos. Tenemos. We have clases el lunes. ¿Tienes una bicicleta? Do you have a bicycle? Tienes. How do I know it's you? Because look at the verb. Tienes, right? Tienes goes only with tú, with you. Do you have a bicycle? Okay, right here it says tener plus que plus an infinitive is used to talk about what someone has to do. For example, if I have to study, you will say tengo, I have, and then in between you will put que. In this case, it will translate to Tengo que, I have to, estudiar. And then the second verb right here stays in its infinitive form, its original form. So the rule in Spanish is, if you have two verbs in one sentence, the first verb, you conjugate it. You change it based on who's doing the action. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellas, ustedes. The first one, like you see it here. Tengo. Notice that? That is the first verb, right? The second verb in that sentence is this one, estudiar. So what happens to the second verb in this rule? The second verb, according to this rule, you leave it the same way. You don't do anything to it. You leave it like that. The first verb, you change, conjugate. The second verb, you leave it alone, the way it is. Now, in this case, to express things that you have to do, the que without the accent means to. Sometimes que means that, but in this case means to. Tengo que estudiar. I have to study. Miguel tiene que leer un libro. Miguel is the subject, right? It's a he. So what would be the correct form of the verb tener for él? Tiene. Miguel tiene, and then to, tiene que, and something that he has to do. The second verb of this sentence is to read. Miguel tiene que leer un libro. Okay? He has to read a book. Notice here in English, you conjugate the verb to have. You don't say Miguel have to read a book, right? You say Miguel has to read a book, because that is its correct conjugation form of the verb. Okay, so I know you guys are a little bit confused, but let's talk about these verbs and how they actually work. I created this for you, so that could be a little bit easier. all verbs, okay, all of them, they either end with AR, ER, or IR. So all verbs and endings are either AR verbs or they can end in ER or they can end in IR. All of them, okay? Hablar is to speak. Cantar is to sing. They end with AR. Comer is to eat. Beber is to drink. They end in ER. Vivir is to live. Reír is to smile. They end with IR. So based on the endings, these endings right here is what you dropped when you conjugate a verb. And you plot, you put the correct ending for each pronoun, for each subject. Alright, so we're going to talk about those two things that we're going to do here today. One, we are going to talk about that. But before we do that, let me try to do something here, okay? Okay, so we have AR verbs like hablar. Hablar means to speak, right? Hablar and to speak, the A ends with AR. So all regular verbs that end with AR have these endings. If you, for yo, you're going to get rid of AR and you're going to put an O. And you will say, yo hablo, like this. Hablar, hablaro, no. You get rid of the ending, AR, and you remain with an O, yo hablo. For two is AS. So what do you do? Hablar is the verb, right? The ending for two, who's doing the action? You, tú. You don't say hablar as, right? You get rid of AR right here, delete, and then you have hablas, tú hablas, you speak. For él, ella, and usted, these three will always share the same endings. Therefore, you will get rid of AR, the verb hablar, you get rid of AR, and then you have the letter A, él habla. And the same thing is for ella and usted. She speaks. Hablar is the verb. But you don't leave it like that. You get rid of AR and you have the ending that goes with ella, which is A. Ella habla. Usted habla. And so on and so forth. Okay? Now, in the plural side, you have nosotros, which is we. And if you have an AR verb, you're going to put hablar, it will be the end, to speak. You get rid of AR, and you have hablamos together, right? Which will be hablamos, we speak. Habláis is for vosotros. For ellos, ustedes is AN, the ending is AN. It will be hablan. So notice how I keep the stem. The stem is the beginning of the verb. Okay. Ustedes hablan. Alright. So these are the verbs, AR verbs. Now, AR. For ER and IR, you have a little different. Okay. For ER and IR, they share the same endings. And for them, you have O, just like in yo. But what is different here is that you have an E involved. Instead of AS, you have ES. E, hemos, eis, en, and en. Okay? So we'll talk more about that in class and complete your activities